people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
You know what's up. I'm gonna let you have your moment though, but you know what's up with me. That's why I'm here. So come on to the USA and you can get smoked again.
Send me the money.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Send me the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just?
You want me to be more hydrated and be stronger at 168?
Let's go on.
Let's go.
168.
I beat you again.
I'll beat you again.
You talking about the amateurs? Oh my God.
Where are we gonna go? You let you shut down.
Alright,
I'm gonna smoke your silly ass. I'm gonna smoke your silly ass. I'm smoking you. I'm smoking you. I'm smoking you.
Coming a bit of a stalker. Why would you come all the way over here on a Saturday night? Watch me. She says I'm living in her head rent free. And look, I'm a champion again, so hopefully we can get it on a super middle. You know, people can say what they want about the last fight. That fight was close. Yeah, she won a lot of the rounds, but them rounds were really close. And until you're in there with someone, you know what shots are landing, you know what shots are hitting, and she knows that was a tough fight.
Do you think that you could edge it at super middle?
I do. I'm a lot bigger, a lot stronger. Like I said, I fought the wrong fight at middle. I really did fight the wrong fight at middle, and look, I can learn from mistakes and put that one to bed.
It seems that Claressa in many ways made the post-fight press conference about herself, Claressa Shields, having been in attendance for the Savannah Marshall fight. Now, I don't think that Claressa is stalking Savannah the way that Savannah suggests she is. I think that's just a bit of dry wit and humor.
So having won the first fight, what's she always hanging around for?
What's she doing there in the United Kingdom in attendance for the Marshall versus Franchon Cruz fight? And she was there supporting her.
She was there to support Franchon.
Make things about herself, insisting that the second fight with Savannah must take place in the United States. And as I stated ahead of the fight, that is contingent upon what Claressa has to offer Savannah.
Is Dimitri Salita, who promotes Claressa Shields, is his offer for the fight in America better than Boxer's offer for the fight
in the UK? In the United Kingdom, I question how much money Dimitri Salita can pull together to host that second fight, to host that rematch, because while Claressa's last fight may have been on DAZN, she's not an according to Hoyle DAZN fighter.
She doesn't have all of DAZN's backing, I don't think. Dimitri Salita doesn't have full access to that DAZN wallet to bankroll the rematch.
Though perhaps for this fight, DAZN might be a bit more open-minded to host that rematch in America where Claressa wants it.
Maybe.
That's up to them. In any event, the second fight and where it takes place is contingent upon who's willing to put up more money for it. Because Savannah, now that she's undisputed champion, she's not going to travel on the cheap.
And at what weight would the proposed second fight take place? At middleweight for Claressa's belts or at super middleweight for Savannah's?
It's a pretty important detail, too.
All this talk about a second fight with Claressa Shields, most valuable promotions decided to respond to all of that, saying,
is a second fight about to go down between Savannah and Claressa? Most valuable promotions said, no, it's not. Not unless she's relinquishing 3 of her 4 newly earned belts. Jade Green is the mandatory challenger for her newly earned WBC, WBO, and IBF titles.
Situation that I stated quite plainly needed sorting ahead of this fight. Savannah Marshall is not at liberty to simply go into her next fight without first satisfying Jade Green as her mandatory challenger. What I didn't realize is that Jade was the mandatory for more than one alphabet title.
No, I thought it was just the WBC title. Apparently, it's for 3 of them. 3 of the 4 that Savannah just won.
The more high-profile fight is the Shields fight?
More high-profile fight of the 2 between the Shields fight and the Jade Green fight. I will admit that I'm a little bit more intrigued by the Jade Green fight than the Shields fight because we've already seen a Shields fight.
I wouldn't mind seeing the rematch, but I like the Green fight too.
Both are dangerous fights for Savannah Marshall. We know Claressa already beat her once. She might beat her twice if there is a rematch. Jade Green, very strong puncher, just like Savannah, a counter puncher.
But Green,
though a much greener fighter than the aforementioned two. Savannah has already shared the ring with the likes of Henna Rankin and Femke Hermans, Claressa Shields, Franchon Cruz, 4 of the more solid fighters anywhere at or around these weights.
Jadeja wants her shot.
Jadeja being greener than Savannah Marshall, certainly greener than Savannah and Clarissa, that makes that fight the slightly more winnable fight.
Still dangerous.
Jadeja is greener than those fighters in terms of experience and who she's fought so far, but don't forget what she did to Aline Cedar-Ruz, a former unified champion.
Flattened her.
It'll be interesting to see which one of those 2 fights materializes, because one of them has to.
It's either Clarissa or Jadeja.
Pick your poison. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, that's what they say. Men's heavyweight news per tweet from Michael Benson. Dillian Whyte has reportedly now signed the contract for the Anthony Joshua rematch on August 12th, according to Sky Sports. He finally came around, likely realizing this is one of the biggest money fights that he can have.
That, and I think I heard that they removed the one-way rematch clause.
That would have certainly had its role to play in getting Dillian Whyte to change his mind and come around. In truth, this is just a stay busy fight for Anthony, revisiting a Dillian Whyte fight, a rematch. He stopped him many years ago, stopped him in sensational fashion. There's not much need.
That Anthony might need more time with Derek James in his corner, squeezing in another fight between now and what could be a Deontay Wilder showdown later on this year.
More time with Derek he needs, but it doesn't have to be opposite the ring Dillian Whyte. That's the expendable part. Dillian Whyte is not the focus of Anthony Joshua's efforts at this point in the juncture. It's making it to a Deontay Wilder fight, whereas Dillian, he's interchangeable. It's my understanding they already had another guy in the queue. If things don't work out with Dillian,
They had a backup plan.
fighting Dillian for the second time is not without some added pressure. Pressure for Anthony to defeat Dillian in the same or better fashion than he did many years ago. A lot has changed. He's got Derek James in his corner instead of Rob McCracken. A lot has changed for Dillian as well.
He's not with Mark Tibbs anymore. He's with Buddy McGirt.
Anthony doesn't go into a second fight with Dillian without some added pressure. When you have Anthony Joshua's profile, the following that he has, there's pressure in everything that he does. Pressure in everyone that he fights. Even if it is a second fight with Dillian Whyte, there is added pressure to show up and show out at least the same way that he did before. Many speculate that Anthony's not the same fighter, the same killer that he used to be.
He's more cerebral now, or he's more gun-shy.
Scared to pull the trigger ever since he was stopped in brutal fashion by Andy Ruiz in, 2019? Many say that ever since that, he's not the same fighter, not the same puncher.
He doesn't commit to his power shots the same way that he used to for fear of being countered the way he was countered by Andy Ruiz in 2019.
If Anthony fails to stop Dillian Whyte the same way that he did before, that will certainly lend credence to the notion that Anthony's not the same fighter that he was, not the same finisher, because here you have a guy who he knocked out in brutal fashion. If he fails to do it in the rematch,
That's evidence.
not the least bit encouraging going into a Deontay Wilder fight in December. You have to remember what it was that Tyson Fury did that was able to disarm Deontay Wilder, stepping into his punches and closing the distance, smothering Deontay and not giving him room to throw that right hand. That's how Tyson Fury was able to disarm him, by taking the initiative and being aggressive.
Some say Anthony's being anything but aggressive.
If he fails to knock out Dillian Whyte, that's not encouraging at all, going into a Deontay Wilder showdown that Eddie Hearn now declares is virtually agreed to take place in December or January. Following talks with the Saudis this week, he said, we virtually have a deal agreed in principle, subject to a few final discussions.
December or January.
It's my understanding that if this mega card that's supposed to feature both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fighting each other, and Alexander Usyk potentially fighting Filip Hrgovic.
Supposed to be there too.
Filip Hrgovic, who hasn't seen action since that lackluster showing with Zhilei Zhang. He gave Zhilei Zhang his first loss on paper, but many people feel that he didn't deserve the decision. He didn't deserve the victory. We haven't seen him since then.
If Usyk makes it past Daniel Dubois, he will have Filip Hrgovic waiting in the queue later on this year.
Fight on that same show, that will pit Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder, the long-awaited, long-anticipated transatlantic showdown between heavy hitters. Anthony has to prove he's still got it.
Last time we saw Deontay in action was late last year in his big comeback fight opposite the ring, an old sparring partner in Robert Helenius, who he dispatched in the first round. We haven't seen him at all in action this year.
Late last year, there was an order that came down from the WBC ordering Deontay and Andy to fight each other to crown Tyson Fury's next mandatory challenger. Neither man seems all that pressed about it or interested. That fight's not happening, at least not according to Deontay.
If it doesn't, Deontay doesn't appear to have a substitute. Someone else that he will fight en route to the Joshua fight. And what that essentially means is the night of that fight,
It will have been a year's time since Deontay Wilder has seen action. We often talk about this potential matchup from the Anthony Joshua angle, the Anthony Joshua side, and what he's doing. But what about Deontay? Deontay Wilder is no finesse fighter. He's a puncher.
a one-handed puncher.
A one-trick pony who the night of the fight, if he doesn't fight Andy and he doesn't fight anyone else, will not have seen action all of this calendar year and in the last 12 months. While he's no finesse fighter, he does rely heavily on timing his opponents to land that right hand.
Usually overly aggressive opponents that are trying to bust through the front door, he catches them with that right hand, like he caught Artur Spilka, like he caught Robert Helenius more recently.
That right hand, oftentimes that counter right hand. Deontay does rely on timing to land that punch, to land that shot.
Doesn't have the best gas tank either.
The other drawback with having sat out for this amount of time is the fighter's conditioning, his cardio, his engine. How many rounds will it be before he slows down, starts breathing with his mouth open?
Before he guesses.
2 fights ago, when he fought Tyson Fury for the 3rd time, it only took 1 round for Deontay Wilder to tire. Just 1 round.
He's having success in the first round, busy with the jab, busy upstairs and busy downstairs, and before you knew it, in the second round, he was breathing with his mouth open.
Now, what we're talking about here is a proposed Anthony Joshua fight in December. And what that essentially means is that in the last 2 years, or close to 2 years, Deontay will have only fought for 1 round. Just 1 round in the Helenius fight.
That's not good for his timing and reflexes. That's not good for his engine, his gas tank, his cardio.
He was supposed to be able to get back out there with Andy Ruiz, but that fight didn't materialize. So that essentially means that going into the Joshua fight in December, he will have only fought for 1 round in close to 2 years.
Not good.
Questions that need answers. Who's going to be airing this fight here in America? Will there be any involvement from Showtime and the PBC? Or has Deontay Wilder officially severed ties with them and will see the fight by way of Matchroom and DAZN?
No, that Skills Challenge, the Prince, the good people over there in Saudi Arabia, they're the ones bankrolling the show.
Who's going to be broadcasting it and where? In the United States. In the United Kingdom.
Questions that need answers.
Anthony's got to make it through Dillian Whyte, and I am more or less confident that he can. It's just a question of how.
Wasn't able to stop Jermaine Franklin, but then again, neither was Dillian Whyte, a common opponent between them.
Another glimpse at Derek James's version of Anthony Joshua. A second one.
A second look.
Will he be better the second time out than he was the first in the Jermaine Franklin fight? We'll find out August 12th.
Absolutely strong. I don't think he's the same fighter. I do think he is a big stiff and robotic, throwing 1-2 shots. As soon as you get into them deep waters, he's finished. And I do believe that fight there I'll win, and I'll win it in fashion. So it's okay doing the talking and saying all these things. You got to back it up. And this is one thing I am going to do. I'm going to have me couple warm-up fights, or if it's even just one, because I am hungry now, more than ever, to get back in there and take over this division, because I do believe it's wide open.
Well, I won't begrudge Hughie Fury backing himself against anyone in the division, even if it's Anthony Joshua. I won't begrudge him that, but I won't agree with him either. Hughie Fury has never exhibited the same ceiling and the same talent as Anthony Joshua. In fact, he shares 3 common opponents with Anthony Joshua in Joseph Parker and Alexander Povetkin, Kubrat Pulev, and every single one of the 3 beat Hughie Fury.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that thinks that Anthony is finished, thinks that his time is up, and he likes his chances against him.
But if he, like several others, thinks that Anthony Joshua is all but done and his best days are behind him, then why is Hughie Fury pursuing a fight with him? And it's because whether people like to admit it or not, Anthony Joshua still is the money man. He still is the cash cow of this division, belt or no belt, because if he weren't, then why is Hughie?
Why does Hughie want to fight him? There's a bunch of guys out there. The division's wide open. He said that himself, but he's looking at this guy.
Why? why not rehatch talks for a Michael Hunter fight? The last we heard, Hughie Fury had jumped into bed with Sky Sports, Michael Hunter along with him, but their fight didn't materialize because Hughie fell ill.
So reschedule the fight if you've got itchy knuckles.
You could spit in the wind right now and hit a guy that sounds just like Hughie Fury, that he thinks Anthony is done, yet Hughie's calling him out. Not that long ago, so was his cousin.
Tyson Fury.
Frank Warren on the verge of giving himself an aneurysm, angry that Anthony Joshua wouldn't give him and his charge the time of day. Why are all these people pursuing Anthony if he's finished and he's done?
It's not like he's got a belt or anything.
And it's because of what I told you. It's strange to hear Hughie Fury talk like this. I mean, I understand the concept of the fighter backing himself under any and all circumstances, but this is a guy who quite literally has 3 common opponents with Anthony, and he didn't beat a single one, not a single one among them.
But he thinks he's gonna beat Anthony.
Anthony, who I think doesn't get enough credit for his works in the men's heavyweight division. If it were easy, if what he did were easy to do, then surely Hughie would have beat either Joseph Parker or Kubrat Pulev, Alexander Povetkin. He didn't beat a single one. Yesterday, we saw former IBF champion Charles Martin give Jared Anderson.
He gave him hell.
Same Charles Martin that Anthony Joshua dispatched in just 2 rounds many years ago. Many years later, several fighters have failed to duplicate Anthony Joshua's dominance over that same Charles Martin.
Kopnowski didn't do to Charles what Anthony did to Charles. Luis Ortiz, he got dropped 2 times by that guy.
Had to go through the gears to find the knockout opposite the ring, Charles Martin. And this past weekend, Jared Anderson greatly struggled with that same fighter, that same Charles Martin. Jared Anderson, who's one of the more highly touted unbeaten up-and-comers in today's heavyweight division.
I'm telling you that Anthony doesn't get enough credit.
Really doesn't. And now Hughie Fury is vying for a fight with him, though in truth, I don't think that Hughie Fury is on Anthony's radar.
Why would he be?
If Anthony Joshua didn't want to give Hughie's more famous cousin the time of day, why would he lend that time to Hughie Fury? Should Anthony Joshua be successful in Saudi Arabia later on this year? Well, should he be successful in August and successful again in December?
He's the cash cow.
He already is the cash cow, but it'll be that much more obvious that belt or no belt, Anthony Joshua is in control of this division. That as far as how the money goes and how the money flows, he's the guy to see, not Tyson Fury.
No, this guy's resorted to fighting MMA fighters for a payday.
They're quite deliberately sabotaging the Alexander Usyk fight instead of scheduling a keep busy fight over the summer months so that he would be ready to fight Usyk in December in Saudi. He's going to do a circus fight, a novelty fight with Francis Ngannou, an exhibition match. At least that's the story, according to Eddie Hearn.
And I believe it.
It's no less than I expect from a fraudulent fighter, a fraud like Tyson Fury, unable to get the kind of payday that he wants with any Joe Blow.
Any ham and egg guy with boxing gloves, he's resorted to a circus fight for his next big payday.
That's pathetic. Could you imagine if Anthony Joshua had put the undisputed title fight on hold so he could go for some cash grab with an MMA fighter?
Furies are a fucking joke.